All right, welcome back to the Iron Sights Podcast. Got the whole crew in today. We are going to be talking about online coaching done right. And specifically, I think more about the advantages of online coaching, why we love it. There's some pros and cons to it for sure. Most of what we do, primarily what we do, and I think it's more because we love that more, is working with folks in person. We've been doing this for a long time. I mean, I've been at this for more than 25 years now. Cece's been at it for probably close to that as well, in one format or another, whether it's been in the institution of education. I mean, how many students did you go through as a tenure track professor?
I have no idea.
Right, a lot. Yeah. So it's coaching.
Even before that, when I was doing athletic training and I was working with athletic training students.
Yeah, teaching and coaching. I mean, the combined years between you guys is probably 20 at this point, right, or close to it.
I'm just over 10 years.
Yeah,
Like 7.
Yeah. So like it, and I think the one-on-one personal training thing is something you're either built for or you're not built for, and some folks do a really good job with it for a long period of time. They learn how to manage things, and mostly it's like managing their schedule and their energy. Obviously, you've got to be good with people, and you've got to get people results. But the online coaching thing certainly took off big time. When there were the shutdowns a few years ago with a few things. I mean, it was a necessity for folks to do that, and so you saw this huge uptick in going online and trying to provide your services online. And a lot of things got figured out then, everything from the tech behind it to, how to deliver it, to how to market it, to obviously from an e-commerce perspective, how to keep it running. So I think it's important to kind of just like differentiate like what online coaching is versus like an online workout program, because those are two very different things. And obviously there's a difference between having a coach online versus having a coach in person. And I think there's different strokes for different folks in all of those things, and that includes trainers and the consumer. And so one of the things we were actually toying around with this red dot, not toying around, we got into it pretty deeply, and that was taking our services online so that we could, for the coach, so obviously the advantage is you expand your market reach, right? Gyms in general work on about this is statistics, they work on about a 5-mile radius, right? So your local gym basically is drawing people in from about a 5-mile radius. Why? Because we know statistically that consumers, the first thing they're going to buy is on convenience. Mm-hmm. That's just what the fitness industry is, right? And anybody that's a member of a gym gets that probably. If you have a remarkable product, that radius expands. And when I say remarkable, I mean a good product, right? Or a good facility. People will drive a little bit further. And, if you've provided good parking for them and, a cool place to be and all those things that attract people, and you can start to expand it. But obviously, those things got really wild, and that wasn't working, right, for a while there. And so people started to move online. And my point of that is we had visited that for a while and then decided we're really going to put our efforts into expanding our footprint locally, right? Like, and have a bigger facility, move into a place that had a little bit more access, that was growing, right? And that's always the trick, right? For coaches, like I'm maybe working in a studio and I have some clients and I'm paying rent, or they're taking a percentage of my session rate or however it works, whatever the model is. And they're ultimately like, I could do this on my own, right? And way more than has ever been successful. I've seen people try that and then fall on their face because they didn't know what they didn't know. They don't really understand how to manage business outside of their 20 clients, 25 clients, whatever they had, and it gets overwhelming. But COVID and those shutdowns, there was a lot more resources, material, and I think models to look at for folks. That's on the trainer side or the coach's side, and so the business side, but also on the consumer side, where people got a lot more educated on how to do this well.
Well, that, and the other thing is too, I think those platforms that came about, they've also advanced as well. Because when we were looking at this back in 2015 or 2014, there was a platform that we were using and it was clunky. Yep. But that same platform now has come a long way as far as usability on both the consumer side and the coaching side. Yeah,
and with that, so now more people have had experience, just like people, had tons of experience and have had lots of experiences going into big box gyms. I think it's different now. When, earlier in my career, everybody had it. Very rarely did I ever talk to anybody or give anybody a tour of the clubs I was working for that hadn't already been a member at another club, that already been through the ringer, right? They understand this is the tour, this is the membership process, this is what I get, these are my monthly payments, this is my monthly dues, this is my membership fee, all that kind of stuff. So when you came in, like that started to get more refined and people started to understand that. So they kind of knew about it. It streamlined the process for them and it streamlined the process for, the companies that had that. And then we saw like things like CrossFit come in and more studios start open up. The studios always existed, but then CrossFit happened, right? And that kind of changed the game a little bit. People got a little bit of a different look. It gave coaches different opportunities to do different things, certainly more accessibility to the things that they knew maybe their coach or their clients needed to be doing, right? And they could customize things a little bit more. They had a little bit more autonomy in how they did that. And so now then you saw a huge expansion in the smaller footprints or the smaller models. And then you get into today where you have such a mix of both. And then you saw during that process, even later in that, you saw things get even more niched out. Like now we have actual places where you just go to get on a bike and ride nowhere, right? With a disco ball and loud music, right? With a DJ that's actually on the bike, up front leading the quote unquote workout, right? You have places where you go and row and that's all you do. You have places where you go and get on treadmills and that's all you do. You have just Pilates, you have just yoga. Again, yoga studios kind of moved into big clubs and then they moved back out. And so again, there's all of this access for people. And so what really evolved just in the last few years, again, is this online coaching piece. And people, again, given that evolution of kind of the fitness industry, have been to all these places and they kind of understand how it works. They joined the yoga studio for 2 years and they recognized they got some good stuff out of it. That's not all they needed. They needed their resistance training. So where were they going to go? Maybe they jump back into that big box model, or maybe they went to a CrossFit studio or whatever the thing is. The point being, online training has evolved and we've seen a lot of things happen. And now it seems everybody's an online trainer. It's the new fad. And everybody can jump into this. Anybody can get on and have an online training platform. And if you're in this business or if you follow a lot of fitness stuff, you're probably seeing a ton of ads from people out there on social media that says, hey, I just made $100,000 this month and my first month as a personal trainer just with this system, whatever. And it's really talking more about the marketing and not so much about the training, right? Not so much about the programming, not so much about the experience with the people behind the coaching. And again, with any evolution of anything, you're going to have some pros, you're going to have some cons, and you're going to have a figuring out process. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that directly to the consumer today about online training and how to do it right. So if you're in this and or not necessarily the trainer, sorry, the online consumer, but also talk to the trainer about the training and the trainers that we kind of see doing it well, right? And the common patterns there and the successes that they're having and the reasons why. Again, talk about how to do online coaching correctly. Because I think there's many ways, but I think there's some ways that are way better than others. So again, in differentiating this stuff, what we're talking about is working with a coach who's providing you a program that and then also has regular communication with you in some way, and we'll talk a little bit about that, of the programming, of what you're doing inside that programming and providing you guidance through that program. This is going to be different than buying an online workout program. And let me define that further, and that would be this. This is somebody is selling you some type of a template or a prepackaged, say, 12-week program, like what we sell with the Red Dot Fitness Strong and Red Dot Fitness Max. Those are 16-week programs, but those where you're getting some information, right, about maybe the rationale behind the program, how the program's set up, and then you get the workout templates, and you have this thing you follow, right, to get involved in, which there isn't any direct coaching. There's not a lot of direct guidance outside of what's in the package that you get, the PDF or the email program or whatever else. It's separate from the coach or the personalization piece. So when we're talking about online, virtual coaching, we're talking about getting that personalization piece. And there are some advantages to this for both the coach and the consumer. So, I think the first thing that makes the most sense in terms of doing it right and doing it right for a client is the fact that there's customization involved here. We're taking the human component into account. It's not just a template. We're talking about the customization. There's all kinds of things that can come with that when you're trying to do this the right way. And so maybe we just talk a little bit about what comes into customization. What is that process? What should it feel like? And there's many ways to do this, but what is probably what are some of the better ways that a consumer can kind of should expect to get from a coach in their program when they get into an online virtual coaching setup?
Well, I mean, the first thing that if you are purchasing coaching where you're actually getting like this live program that is updated and individualized, and there's not any sort of intake form about either your current status, your history, injuries you need to be concerned about, what your goals, all those things, then that's your first red flag. Like that should be the first thing that a coach, before they sell you anything, before they get you into that, there should be some sort of intake form so that that coach can have some information about you, because they can't individualize, customize a program if they don't know anything about you.
You have to assess first.
Exactly. So that, that might not be, sometimes we've offered and I've offered an assessment where there might be an actual video and assessment with the coach where usually they're not doing the workouts live with you, but they are actually trying to see you move a little bit, get more of a buy-in. That sometimes is like a higher dollar amount to get that time with an actual assessment with that coach. But yeah, there at least needs to be that kind of verbal or written down assessment piece that is telling you like, what's your exercise history? Do you have any experience exercising? Have you lifted a lot before? Are you not lifting? What have you been doing lately? Do you have any injuries? Do you have an achy shoulder? Have you torn your ACL? All these different things. And then of course, on top of that is like, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? Because a program is going to look very, very different depending if your goal is to, hey, I've been, doing a lot of yoga and things like that, but I'm just now wanting to learn resistance training, or I'm trying to prepare for a bodybuilding show, or I'm trying to feel more athletic. Like these are going to help the coach guide that program so it is actually customized.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways to do that. Like sometimes when you like you're going down the initial part of that process, that form will kind of be an automated process where you're giving some basic information, which for the coach leads them into the next thing, and it helps streamline the next part in the process. So sometimes these things can be combined together. The next part of that process is the actual interaction and engagement, like verbally or maybe on a screen, right? Where you're doing a video call, or maybe it's on the phone, where you are now getting that information or clarifying some of that information. So sometimes it'll be like this initial kind of intake form: what's your name, what's your age, what's your workout history, whatever. And those are great to kind of help streamline the process, to give the coach maybe a better idea of how to lead the questioning, because depending on how detailed the person there is, how detailed the intake form is. I love intake forms, but for me, if I'm going to be coaching you, we need to have a conversation. So I kind of handle that process together. Like it's like, hey, let's get together on a call. Let's talk about where you've been, where you are now, where you're trying to go, because it's not going to be the same questions for everybody, right? It's going to be very personalized based on the answers that I receive. So it's a question skillfully, listen carefully process while I am taking notes digitally or handwriting, depending on the environment that I might be in, or what might work best for me. How does that plug into the technology that I'm going to use in order to help deliver this program to you? Because now we're working in a digital space, right? And that presents challenges, but it also presents a lot of advantages in terms of getting and giving information to people. So yeah, dude, you nailed it. Like if you're not getting a thorough intake process, which starts with just some questions and answers, and then moving into the next thing, depending on how that goes, right? Like, all right, maybe there is a movement analysis that goes on here, and that's not a beat down session. That is hey, let's watch you go through a few movements, and that can be handled a couple different ways as well. It leads into the customization, and that is maybe you send me some videos. I want you to do these 5 things or these 10 things or whatever. You send them to me so I can look at them ahead of time, maybe even before that call, or it's after that call, or whatever it is. Or sometimes, to your point, and we can talk about this a little bit later, and that is we're actually on that video screen together, and I'm watching you do things so I can maybe cue you and pull some things together. I think that's dependent on how the coach is running their business and how they want to do that. But the customization part cannot come into play without that piece of it. So if that's not happening, you're not getting customization. Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about it more in like the fitness programming sense, but what about on the nutrition coaching sense?
Oh, yeah, the initial consult is absolutely essential. I really can do nothing for you. I can personalize or customize nothing unless I get an initial picture of who you are, what you're looking to achieve, what are potential obstacles or snags, what is unique to you that I need to have in mind in order to create a plan of action for you, or at least an initial plan of action. And then from there, as we have subsequent sessions, now I'm gathering more information, I'm gathering more feedback, and we can continue. It's a continuous customization process. I'm also getting to know you better as an individual. I'm also getting to know kind of your habits, your tendencies, because everybody is going to be different. There are going to be clients who are frankly higher maintenance, and there are going to be clients who are more set it and forget it, seek and destroy. All I have to do is go do this and it gets done. Other people, that might be a little bit more of a struggle. So I would say, I mean, on both ends, it's essential. But certainly, and I'm wholeheartedly in agreement with you, Scott, as far as I want to have a conversation and not on the phone. I want to see you. I want to see your facial expressions. I want to actually.
How old school of you?
There's verbal and nonverbal.
Yeah. Like if I can't meet with you in person, then definitely on video so that I can actually see you and get a sense of your energy. And I'm picking up a lot of information about you beyond just what you're saying. And I need to see you in order to do that.
Well, and I know building for you, kind of like there's the assessment where we actually, as a coach, on the fitness side of things, like I want to see you move. I know one of the first things that you always do with the client is I want to see what you're actually eating before I even, okay, you're telling me all these things, you had that conversation, but before I actually like give you a set of macros or give you a game plan, you actually are, I just want you to keep a food log for 3 days, right? Maybe it's 2 weekdays and then a weekend. And so you're actually getting that assessment of what their diet actually looks like. Because people say a lot of things. When they actually,
I eat clean.
I eat clean. Yeah, I eat clean.
What does that mean?
But then actually, like, obviously, what are the ratios? What are they eating? All that different stuff. That's kind of the next assessment process from the nutrition side of things.
I have that initial consult. And then, if somebody is moving forward with a coaching program, I want... typically, I do a 2-week observation period. If we are meeting every other week, that first 2 weeks, I just want to see you in the wild. I just want to observe your habits as they stand now, because especially on the nutrition side, there's so many different variables and there could be so many different concerns. And we don't want to get lost in the sauce and try to move 50 different directions at once. I may notice 10 things about those first 2 weeks of data, but it's up to, we do this together. It is a collaborative process, but those first 2 weeks of data give me an idea of, okay, these are some potential priorities for this individual. Then let's go ahead and discuss those. Which of these priorities is most important? And then there is a sense of my own kind of intuition and instinct of what is this individual ready to tackle right now.
Yeah, so I think whether you're in person or online, this is going to be the process. And I'm glad you asked Stephen about the nutrition, or brought up the nutrition assessment piece. Is like, what are we assessing? Let's not, just like if I was watching somebody do their squat on it's the same thing when we're doing like a history, a diet history type of thing. Is like, look, I got to see what you're doing here. Like, give me, the more informed I am, the more informed recommendations I can give you. And then also to preload you with things to be working on that are, again, dependent on where you're coming into this process and who you are. We actually take it one step further in terms of this assessment. Like, this assessment happens after just a 15-minute consult, 15 to 20-minute consult. Like, you have questions, we get it. Like, let's talk about what this process is going to be. Is this the right fit for you? Because this is how we handle it. Any good online coach is going to have that available, where they're going to set up a time where they're going to be like, hey, let's talk about who you are and what you're trying to do. And then we can talk about what next steps would be, which would be this deeper assessment process as we go through it. So it's kind of a lengthy process. There's steps to this to make sure we're setting ourselves up to help you correctly. And you have all the information you need to make sure that what you're getting yourself into is what's right for you. And I think that's super important. And again, going back to that interaction and what that looks and feels like is super important. Like, doing a vibe check, super important. Like,
if you're not vibing with your coach and there's not making that connection, I mean, that's what coaching is, right?
Yeah, they got these great like before and after pictures on their website and all over their social media and whatever else. Like, is this even somebody that like I want to hang out with? Because if I'm coaching, we're going to be hanging out a lot. There's going to be a lot of interaction. That's going to be important. That's the best way for me to help you. So again, the customization piece, obviously trickles down into everything from, again, you talked about like macros to, setting up a plan of action for how you're going to attack your week, all the different things. And again, that's going to be different things for different people based on where they're coming into it. On the fitness side of things, like, all right, how many days a week are we actually working out? Now I can work backwards and go like, okay, how should I set up this program? Exercise selection is going to be important. All the things that you expect, sets, reps, loads, all that stuff then gets to be specifically tailored to you based on the assessment process. So again, customization through an assessment process, and then a few other things like making sure we're talking regularly and we're visibly seeing things regularly. And that's different on the in-person side of things. If I'm seeing you 2 or 3 days a week, right? I'm literally standing in front of you. There's lots of room for me to pick up all the nuance and how you're moving or how you're handling your nutrition. Again, what's your response level like this time versus last time? How are you handling the successes and the failures versus online? You don't get that opportunity typically. Sometimes you'll see trainers, and we've done this before on the customization side, where they're actually like on screen doing their workout. I hate that. Like, it's tough for me to sit there, and I don't coach folks like that. Like, if we're doing an assessment or we're doing like a movement review or something like that, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we're going through all the reps and sets and all the exercises, reps and sets in this workout while I'm watching you. Occasionally I'll do that if it's a necessary component. But if that's the case, if you're that person that needs that, and I feel like you need that, I need to make the decision, like, is that the kind of environment I want to be in as a coach and be doing that where I'm staring at a screen with a client on the other end? I don't prefer that. Or does this person need an in-person coach and I might not be the right coach for them? I need to maybe make a recommendation or help them find somebody that's closer to them that can give them the things that they need.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly like a super great way. That's kind of in between the two, right? If you have like a specific coach that you really want to work with, either you have a connection with or you like the expertise or you've worked with them in the past, like talking about during COVID, like I did that exclusively for a long time, for over a year, where that was all I was doing, is just live coaching video with people and going through their entire workout. That is something that's a great tool that we use now. Like, I still have a few people where I do that, where I train them exclusively through that workout. But this is also a great tool for people if, like, I have clients who travel a lot, especially in the Bay Area for business, where I have people where I train you in person most of the time, but we want to keep you on track, and you feel like you need that person watching you and
accountability.
And that accountability, make sure you're getting it in, make sure you're pushing, make sure you're cueing all the right things. Where I have a lot of people where I will do that on occasion as they travel. So maybe they're in an in-person client, but then when they're gone, I'm still even sometimes doing a semi-private call where I'll be training one person online and then I have 2 other people going. That's something super that CC and I both do a lot. So
yeah, it's a skill. It takes practice and it takes reps. And again, there has to be the right matchup with the client on the other end, right?
For sure.
Does this make sense for them? Do they have, I don't know, like, is this a person that can be left alone, right? Or is this a person that needs that very, very individualized attention? And that's between you and your coach and however they're delivering their programs, but also having a mechanism to deliver that, in a good way. I mean, we have FaceTime and Zooms and all kinds of things you can do. Or are you working on some type of a training platform that makes that easy for both the coach and the trainer? These are questions you should be asking if you're a consumer and you're looking to do this. But again, going back to the customization piece, online virtual coaching gives you the ability to make it as customized as it needs to be based on however the trainers or that coach is working their program and whatever you're capable of doing. So I think the other thing that ties right into the second thing that I love about the online coaching or virtual coaching space is the accessibility that you can have to somebody. So like, you could be on the other side of the country and I can be working with you. Obviously, that makes a lot of sense if you find a coach you like, but logistically you can't make that matchup. Or like you said, you got somebody that travels a bunch, or you got somebody that's living part-time some other place. We have a lot of clients like that, where they're gone for months at a time doing whatever they're doing, whether it's a vacation or whether it's a work trip or something else where they're being relocated for a while. So you get that accessibility, and that accessibility comes in when you're not with your coach and you're doing your programs. You can do your program outside of a particular schedule that would have to be fulfilled by both parties if you're training in person, which is a huge limiter for especially for you guys. You guys are busy all the time. So we got people that want to train. It's like, I ain't got room for you, man. Like I haven't got room for you here, but I do have this time that I set aside to train online clients, right? Where I do take do these assessments, or I have these sessions, and I can have these meetups at times that fit both of our schedules a little bit differently. Example would be like, I'm not training somebody at 7 p.m. at night, but they work a shift, where they don't get off till 5 or 6 o'clock. I'm just not going to be here for that. Like I'm just not going to do that. But there would be times maybe I will set aside time to have consults or talk to clients on obviously the times that they can meet. And this gives me and them that accessibility to do that. Outside of what we're not talking about is not all of this is done, again, in person. So I'm providing you a program, I'm providing you the coaching, but you get the flexibility to go do that programming on your own when it's convenient for you, in the location that's convenient for you, at a time that makes the most sense. So again, online coaching gives you that advantage to be able to, I'm getting great coaching. I don't necessarily need somebody standing in front of me to get this done. I don't need that appointment to show up for to keep myself accountable. But I have this accessibility that gives me the flexibility to do it when and where I need to do it. So
and you still have accessibility to your coach, because sometimes it can be through a platform of messaging, right? If you have questions or whatnot.
Yeah, hey, when did the workout yesterday morning, and tomorrow evening we're talking about it. We have some type of feedback or some type of chat about that.
Yeah. So again, there's kind of two wrapped into one there. One is the accessibility piece, and the other one is the flexibility piece. I mean, for coaches, that's huge, right? So that they can manage their time. That is the thing that we're always battling as coaches, is like, how many clients can I train in a day, right? Because that's how I make my money. How many can I fit into my schedule? And if I'm strategic about this and trying to manage my own workouts, my own life, my sleep, eating, and all that gets tough, especially as a busy coach. So as a consumer, you want to understand, how is your coach managing their time, and how does that fit? How does your time fit into that? And this gives the coaches way more flexibility a lot of time, depending on how they're managing their schedules, to be flexible for both people. And again, not every client needs the same thing. Some clients need a 15-minute chat, like in-person chat. Some don't, right? Some just need, hey, I had a question. They'll send a quick message. You send it back, and they're good, right? Go back to the set it and forget it, type of client. But the flexibility to be able to move things around and do it on your convenience, and not be locked into an appointment time that could get sabotaged by any number of things, work schedules, kid schedules, life, and all that stuff that comes up for both parties, is extremely valuable. Through your week, I know you kind of, I'm just pointing at Ryan here, there are several times, and it's most of the time with Steven, I'm walking by the office and they're there, and there he is with another client online on screen, and he's going through his stuff, yet and oftentimes that can happen during convenient times for people, like on a lunch break, right, at work. So Steven's working through your lunch break, right? But his lunch break is scheduled a different time around his clients that he does have here at the gym. So just a different way to look at it, again, in terms of the accessibility and flexibility pieces that can be really convenient for people. I don't know if there's anything you guys want to add to that in terms of, where you're coming at it from a coach's perspective on how you manage your time and keep that stuff together. Well,
the flexibility on the coach's side of things is one of the biggest struggles being a personal trainer, being a coach, is if you're not in the gym working for so often, you're not working and you're not making money, right? So you're not even able to keep that, to be able to take vacation, or even just take a trip, right, to go see family, even if it's not a proper, I want this week off vacation. But this allows the coach to have some sort of income, some sort of ability to keep their clients on track and keep them moving when they're not in that location. And that's something that's really been valuable for me. It's been valuable in the past when I was doing even more online stuff. And it's still valuable. Even I've ever trained a client where I'm gone and they're still in the gym here, and I've trained them. So that opens a lot of flexibility. I think the other flexibility it really offers this kind of format is it allows from the client perspective, the coach to manipulate the program for something that is applicable to their week and their life. Like I even have someone who is on vacation this week, and I modified his program that was accessible for some body weight workouts because he just really wants to keep his progress going and be able to get something in. But then two, like how do you modify and have that flexibility? And okay, we know you usually have access to barbells, but the hotel gym that he's at only has dumbbells. Here's how we're going to adjust the program. Here's how we can move that. So it's a great way on both sides to keep the ball rolling. And that's something that a lot of times in the past, like if there's some sort of trip, the ball stops rolling and there's some sort of big hiccup. So
on the nutrition side, I mean, I would say it's not really necessary that I meet with people in person, to be honest, at this point in time. So that removes geographic limitations. That removes like, I'm not going to be able to drive to the gym, but I'm at my house and I have 30 minutes. If I had to actually physically go to the gym to meet with you, that session is not going to happen. But I have a quick, like you said, a lunch break, or I have, a little bit of time in my afternoon. I just plop down at my computer. We can have our session. And really, there's not much lost there on the nutrition side of things, because if I'm sitting face to face with a nutrition client, I mean, I have the same data on my laptop. I have my same notebook. It's just now you're sitting in front of me. Yeah, it removes that geographic limitation as far as I can have clients all over the country, and I do have clients all over the country, and it makes scheduling much easier. And it's also, like you've said, it's easier for me to block out time where, it can be more challenging if you're, on the fitness floor and you're kind of transitioning one session to the next. Whereas if I have, several Zoom sessions in a row, I just don't get up. I mean, I do because I like to stretch my legs.
Stay focused.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be locked in and having sessions for the next 2 hours, or, I have a session and then I have a little gap. So I finish my notes for the session that I just had prior to my next session. So it really opens things up. I think it's wide open on the nutrition side of things.
I have to say, as far as, having a partner who's supportive, when we have traveled, there have been times where I can be locked in and focused and have a conversation or a coaching conversation with somebody while we're driving literally down the road, because he's focused on driving and I can be focused on having that conversation. So it gives a lot of flexibility to the schedule. So we can basically do it anywhere.
And because of those things, it often can be, this is another major point, it can be a little bit more cost effective, right, for the consumer. And the coach is willing and able to make that compromise because of the advantages that they have on the other end. So
because I don't have to meet you in person, I don't have to charge as much.
Right. So yeah, because it's not taking so much of my time. We get paid based on our time, right? That's what we're getting paid. We're time and knowledge, and then obviously the energy that we put into it. But the compromise that can be made there is oftentimes it's a bit more, it's going to be more cost effective, right? It's more cost effective for a business to operate that way. A lot of times it probably comes as no surprise to people, but obviously like we don't have to keep lights on, right? We don't have to keep air conditionings running. We don't have to have staffs at the front desk or whatever for this stuff to happen. All that stuff gets basically baked in or handed back in terms of cost savings to the client. So a lot of people, like if that's what you can afford, it is a great option to get a ton of benefit from having a personal coach to take you through a customized program, get all that flexibility and accessibility for less of a cost. So again, there's a lot of things that come along when you're shopping for online coaches, and you're going to see all kinds of stuff. And so just kind of beware, as the buyer type of thing. Like if you're seeing people out there that they're charging $10,000 a month for a training program, like what the fuck is going on here? Like, like
that's absurd.
People are charging $3,000 a month for, okay, well, tell me about what this is, because I need to understand what this is. After understanding, if you understand anything about what we just said, like about what coaching should look like what am I paying $3,000 for? Am I paying $3,000 for because this guy has a name and a reputation, and that's where the value is? Or is it what's actually being delivered, right? So then you'll see some people are going like, I'll train people for, $100 a month. Really? If you're getting all of that stuff that we just mentioned, like for $100 a month, I'd be seriously questioning who that coach is and what they're actually delivering. So here's a pitfall in the online coaching space right now. And that is, it seems like, and I mentioned this just in terms of the evolution of it, it's like anybody can be an online coach right now. Anybody can do that. Just put it in your Instagram profile and you're validated, right? Put a few good videos up and you're validated. That is a tough place for me to be kind of when I see stuff, because you can kind of see it happen. Like it starts off really strong for somebody. They seem to be doing really well from the outward appearance, and then all of a sudden they disappear. Like what happened to that person? I don't know, but I do know what happens to a lot of them is they outrun their headlights and they're selling shit that they can't deliver, and or they recognize they've undervalued themselves. And because they've undervalued themselves, they have a bunch of people that are now have an expectation of getting this specific service delivered, and they can't deliver it to them. So I just think in terms of the value proposition and what you're getting and what you're paying for, there's obviously a lot of variability there, and you'll see all kinds of things out there and what people are doing. The easiest way to get a good gauge on whether or not that value is worth the price that you're paying is to go through that assessment process. So again, going back to the red flag, if you're not getting that assessment process, if this is all done, through chats and emails and things like that, I would be, again, buyer beware on that stuff, because that is not coaching, right? That is managing clients in my mind. It's just my personal opinion on it. And how good a manager is your coach versus how good a coach is your coach, or something you should be looking into there. So again, just on the cost effectiveness, it can be way more cost effective than the requirement of somebody to be there at a specific appointment time in person, which means he can't be with anybody else, which means he can't be doing anything else. And what I mean by that is like going back to those things like the vacations, or the time away, for whatever the time away needs to be. I'm okay taking my time out for you because we've got this plan put together. I know what this conversation is going to be like. I don't have to get into my uniform or whatever and get to a particular place. I save that time logistically or geographically, and the coach is willing to give that back. So in terms of a cost saving, so just one thing to be aware of there. The other thing I would say is with regard to the awesomeness of online coaching is, obviously you can do your workouts wherever you need and want to, and with the customization part that goes along with this, your coach can build the program around what you have available. Now there's some caveats to this, but what are you available? So on the nutrition side, where are you located? Like what's accessible to you in terms of the types of foods that you're buying, or the types of activity that you're involved in, or those kinds of things. You want to talk about that a little bit and some of the things that you run into with clients.
Well, yeah, if I'm maybe working with somebody who's in a different region of the country, there may be some variability as far as, what does the local grocery store have? If I recommend a specific product or something like that, like, oh, I've never seen that before at my local grocery store. Here are the types of things that they do have. It's maybe a rural area, and, there's a difference in terms of what's available there.
Let's say somebody is, I don't know, in England or in, Africa for a month at a time. Like you can have that conversation as far as, well, what foods are available? Let's look at this and then see how we can adapt your nutrition plan to fit this.
Yeah, so I can still meet with people when they're on vacation, even if it's someplace international, and we can be kind of live on the ground as far as what's available to them there, and how we can adapt to where they are geographically.
In real time.
Right. And we've talked a lot about like nutrition strategies for like when you're traveling, like what kind of foods, what are great little, like your canned tuna is like different thing. We've had a whole episode talking about, nutrition while traveling, which is not what you necessarily want to live on, but those are some strategies that, Stephen can kind of help you modify. Or obviously like if you're on vacation, like how do you modify whatever your nutritional needs are while you're there. And then, like from the exercise kind of things, I can think about like from the couple, I have a few different clients right now that are strictly on the, here's their programming. We do check-ins like we're talking about. And one, I even have a client where he has quite a bit of equipment at home. He does have another gym he goes to, but he only wants to go there kind of rarely. And so I have his separate programs where this is his home workout program. This is his apartment gym program that is farther away, that's not as convenient for him. And then the workouts are really planned in a way that's purposeful of these exercises I only include on this day. These exercises I only include in this day because it's the equipment, whether it's also you work out at home, like knowing what the equipment is available for that individual. Obviously then, when you get into like more of a gym setting, like, or even, talking sometimes like, hey, every time I go to the gym, all the squat racks are always taken. Like, what are some modifications? What are some substitutions I can do as well? So that's kind of what you want to think about on the exercise side of things.
Yeah. So that's where I was going with the how do we modify specific to a person, the flexibility that somebody's going to need into their program or where they are in their plan or whatnot. And again, like if you've got a home gym, this is a great way to get, some organization around. You've got all this cool equipment or you got this fancy equipment and you find yourself kind of landing in the same things all the time. Trainers can be innovative, right? They can work with and around certain things that you have or don't have and teach you some things you maybe didn't even know that are available to you in your own home gym with the current equipment you have. Now, again, there's a caveat to that. Getting getting online and getting a coach, like a virtual coach, when all you have in your gym is a set of 10-pound dumbbells, a set of 20-pound dumbbells, a kettlebell, and a couple of resistance bands. As a coach, I'm not going to try to program around that. That's my personal thing. Like, are there things we can do? Yeah, but I'm not taking your money. Because I know you are not going to get the result you're likely looking for.
An efficacy thing.
100%. So again, if you're searching for a coach and going, oh yeah, we can build this program, it's only going to cost you $700 a month, and they're telling you it's going to be fine with a band, a couple of pairs of dumbbells, and a kettlebell in your garage, that's a red flag. I would certainly be weary of the rest of this process for you, because at some point, if that's the only investment you're willing to make in yourself from the tools that it's going to take, I already know where this is going to go.
Probably not that serious about this.
You probably don't have that level of commitment. And now I get, like, the finance is an issue. Where do I put my money? Do I put it into equipment or do I put it into coaching? The answer to that question is it's both. You need to put it into both. Or go spend your $30 or $40 or $50 a month at the local gym that you don't really like, right? To maximize the investment that you're making in your coaching, because you will have the tools available to you there in order to get the things done that you need to get done. Which brings up the next thing, which is oftentimes with online coaching, while we have accessibility to so many cool things right here at Red Dot, right? In terms of what we're equipment, technology, humans, right, coaches and people that we're able to bring to the table. Online coaching provides access, or can provide access, depending on who your coach is, how they're running your business, to all kinds of cool stuff, right? That helps them monitor what you're doing and help make adjustments to your program and educate you at the same time on how to do that for yourself in this online coaching environment. As an example, if you're in an online or virtual coaching program with one of our coaches here, you're going to be connected to our app, right? And we chose wisely. CC kind of referenced like the challenges we had. Like, are we actually going to be able to deliver what we need and want to deliver for our clients to get them what they need and what they want, as well as what we need and what we want in order to do that, like with this particular platform. And there was a lot of things that were done in order to make that better. Like, I need to be able to see your exercises. I need to be able to see what you're doing. If I can't see you in the gym, I need to see what you're doing here. Are you able to record your loads? Are you able to record your reps and sets? What accessibility do I have to that? Because that is a tool that I can now use to make program adjustments. And without getting into the weeds on that, how much volume, what's the intensity? These are important foundational fundamentals that every coach should be working from. It's not just reps and sets of a specific exercise. There are things that go into that. Those online platforms is a tool that should be included in your online coaching program as a consumer for your coach to use. And so when they say, hey, we have this cool platform, it's not just a sales thing. It is this is what I need or what we need in order to effectively deliver what you're asking me for, and more specifically, what you're paying for.
You can plug in your wearables, all that type of thing. You have more data points.
We have food trackers in there. We can connect to your fitness apps that you may be tracking on, your wearable devices, your food tracking mechanisms. So it all shows up in one place for us, which helps us, which increases efficiency in terms of how to evaluate, diagnose, and then come back with recommendations.
Well, and I think from the consumer side, one of my favorite components of these is being able to plug in videos of the exercise that you are doing because a lot of people, I can tell you to do a back squat, but if I can actually show you a video, and hopefully it's a good video too, that also gives some of the key cues that I want to see, that you can have right in the app, that you can see when you're about to do the exercise, like, oh, this is what the back squat I'm looking like. Or maybe it's a box back squat. And so that's going to be different than just a back squat. So you can actually see that, get that real-time feedback as a consumer, and you can see more what the coach is wanting to you to actually implement.
Right, which then brings the next piece in. It was like, I'm not sure about this. How do I get more sure? You send a message, right? You ask a question either in the live in person or the live chat that you might be having either on the phone or video, or you put it in a message system so you can get that feedback. So all these tools, and there's other resources that are available there too. Like what other types of resources? I'll just say this. There's tons of other resources that can be provided to you along your way. It's not just me giving you information. It's you consuming information that helps you become more informed and be a little bit more independent, which is effectively what you're doing, right? You're on the other end being a little bit more independent than standing in front of me right now. So, what other materials can be provided strategically to help a person through their process? And a good coach that's done this for a while understands the importance of that, right? Like, hey, I know this is going to come up, so I'm going to be sending them this information, whether it's in a message, an email, whatever it happens to be. And then we can talk about it on the next time that we get on the call. There's a little bit of that accountability process that happens in there, and it can all be managed online really well with the right coach.
The other thing about online coaching is that if you're working from a platform, it has the ability to take, or you have the ability as a coach to keep your SOAP notes, or, your subjective, objective, your assessment and plan for that individual. But the other thing is too, it allows your client to upload information for you to be able to review. So not just your wearable devices, but, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and she was saying that she's going to go have a DEXA scan. And I said, oh, great. I can't wait to hear more about it. She's like, well, when I get it, I'll go ahead and I'll send it to you. And I said, yes, send it to me and upload it into your online portal so we can review it and talk about it. So
have it in your files, record it.
Exactly. And it'll be right there.
Compare to the next one that you get.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You do that with the InBodies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's also a note section for that we can keep track of the conversations that we have and the plans. And I'm sure you do that as well for your nutrition coaching clients.
Yeah,
so.
and you don't have to take time out of the in-person session to review that. It can be done on the trainer's convenience or the coach's convenience at whatever time, so that they're preloaded to ask the right questions or review the key points. So that again, there's a time efficiency piece there in terms of materials. So again, there's a ton of tools and resources that can be provided. And at the same time, the other thing that I love about it when it's like that, when it's all in one place, is Ryan mentioned this before, trainers need to take breaks, coaches need to take vacations. And just because you're on a vacation doesn't mean your client's on a vacation, right? So that can easily be handed off to a partner coach or somebody else to kind of look after your program while you're gone as a coach. And that's huge for me, because one of the things that's the most frustrating is when a client, particularly an in-person client, leaves on vacation and they're gone and they're like, this is my vacation, right? And I'm not going to work out. I went, great, good for you. Go take time off, take a workout break, take a diet break, go do those things. But then getting them back on board, right, after they're coming back from that. And if I'm seeing them 2 or 3 times a week, there's gaps in that time. Whereas if I can hand this over to another coach to handle that person while I'm gone, they're not falling off, and I'm not constantly having to fight them back into or convince them or persuade them or encourage them, whichever angle you want to look at it, to get them going again.
It doesn't break the momentum.
Yeah, and it's all right there. And if you've got, if you're working with a company or a business that has multiple coaches, and you've got you have somebody that's kind of overseeing everything, which is kind of how we operate here. It gives us the ability to make sure your coach is staying on top of it, right? I like that, right? I like that. Not like I'm looking over their shoulder every time to make sure they're not messing up, but more is like, hey, where's there an opportunity for me to help this coach with this particular client at this particular time? We can share information back and forth. It's really convenient. Again, we can do that on our own time. It doesn't have to be a sit-down meeting to come together. Hey, bring your notes. Let's review your notes. However, we will do that. And it's not, again, that's not an accountability piece from you're not doing a good job, we need to make sure you're doing a better job. It's, hey, how can we improve your situation as a coach and the situation for the client? So another another advantage of the online coaching. And most of the online coaches that I know that are doing a really good job and being successful, not just with selling training, but actually delivering it and delivering it in a way that's meaningful and provides meaningful, long-lasting results, or handling it that way. So I think the last thing to kind of bring to the table is just what most people need. Everybody needs at some level, and that's the accountability piece. And it's easy to hold your client accountable when they're standing in front of you, and they have, they're there for an hour, a couple of days a week, or whatever the case is. But then there's 23 hours out of the day, and however many other days during the week when they're not in front of you, and things happen there. And if you're not set up in with all the let's just say the technological access and back and forth, sometimes things can get lost. In fact, not sometimes, a lot of times that they do. And so we talk about the importance of consistency, but accountability is a big part of this. And it's not so, again, just like from the business perspective, looking over somebody's shoulder to make sure they're not fucking it up, but it's more of like, you can see things happening in real time. Again, like when your devices are connected, or when you're tracking your nutrition, or you're recording your workouts, it gives me a heads up to what's going on as a coach. So I can do the impromptu check-ins to say, hey, I noticed today you did a really good job. Like you PR'd on your bench press or whatever. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it can be on the other side of that, like, hey man, it's been a couple of days. I'm just checking in on you. It looks like you didn't log for the last couple of days with your on the workout side of things. What's going on? Mm-hmm. How can I help you? Right. And that's really where the accountability piece comes in. And sometimes on the consumer end, it's just knowing that somebody's there doing that for me. Just like, I don't really want to go to the workout today, but I have an appointment scheduled. It's going to cost me money if I don't show up, because I'll no show or late cancel or whatever the case is. And so I'm just going. And sometimes, most of the time, once they come and they go through that, they're like, fuck, I'm glad I did that. Like, I feel better that I did do that. The online virtual coaching piece gives you that same thing, but I would actually say at a deeper level, because it's expected that I'm going to be checking in on you that way from the coach's perspective, or from the consumer's perspective and the coach. They should feel compelled to be doing that. And I can do that, again, around times that make the most sense for me. So it doesn't feel like a burden. I'm blocking time out of my day to make sure, hey, I'm checking in. And I can set alerts to see when you do certain things. So like I know when that's happened. You can set alerts like milestones and things like that. Like you PR'd on your, this is the most volume you've ever done in 1 week in your workout before. Congratulations, you get the gold star.
Yeah, I get a notification when my client has hit their nutrition goal. I can see when they got their gold star. And if I see somebody who's doing that consistently, especially if they haven't in the past, I can go ahead and reach out, even if we're in between sessions, say, hey, looks like you've been doing a really good job this week. Can't wait to talk about it next week during our session. And that lets them know, again, not that I'm, it lets them know that I'm there. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that that I am the Overwatch, but that I am, that I am there and I am observing, and that can keep people on track.
Yeah, that can be a real huge, that can be a motivator for somebody.
Yeah, and it's not just that I'm red penning them, it's also to reach out to them to tell them good job.
Yeah, and it's a good example. I just did an assessment with somebody today where we talked about that very thing, and that, basically she was like, hey, I know I need an appointment. Like, I need that accountability in my life. Like, I know I need to be here, and I want to make sure I'm doing things the right way and I'm not missing things. I want to get the most out of this. And, by the time we were done, we kind of talked about all the options, like in person versus online or whatnot. There can be a combination of that. And if you're as a consumer, you don't understand kind of what the advantages of both are and how they interplay with one another, you might not recognize the value that does exist in that online coaching versus being in person. You can still provide that level of accountability. You can still help with that consistency. You can still make those adjustments where necessary as a coach and as a client. I guess the point of that being is hey, listen, you need to know who you are, right? And that's and we need to know who you are, and that's part of the assessment process. And in that assessment process, again, we can talk about how this works. And so you're not signing on to something that you're not ready for, you're not feeling comfortable with, or whatever else. So there's, again, that in-person interaction, wherever you are, happen to be on the globe, right? Like, that can happen. And you can understand a little bit deeper, like, how could this work for me? How do I modify what I'm currently doing? Maybe it's, dude, I don't want to talk about my workout programs at all. I just want nutrition coaching. I know I need more help on that. Cool. I still want to know what you're doing on the fitness side because these things are closely intertwined, but we can do that. We can just do the nutrition side. It doesn't have to be all in one. I will tell you this, like if you're doing in-person nutrition and personal training, what does that look like? Are you trying to handle both your training session and your nutrition consultations in the same session? Because something's got to give there. A larger percentage is going to be given to both.
Separate appointment.
That's why we handle these things differently, right? Like that's why we handle, when I say different, they are separate but together. Like if you're meeting with your nutrition coach, meet with your nutrition coach. Meeting with the fitness coach, you're meeting with the fitness coach. You meet with the coach that does both together, then those conversations are going to overlap, but we're going to have very specific conversations about things that aren't going to take away from your training time, the time that you need to be putting into the grocery shopping or the meal prepping or whatever, or the time that you need to actually be out on the floor getting the work done physically that needs to happen. So tons of advantages in terms of the online coaching piece. I've seen it be very successful for both clients and coaches. I've also seen it being very unsuccessful. And if you go back to the reasons it was unsuccessful, I could almost guarantee you with 100% certainty that it's going to be one of those points that we've hit today that wasn't being handled correctly. Like there wasn't flexibility planned and there wasn't enough communication. There weren't additional tools and resources for both the coach and the client. The cost just didn't equate to the value that they were actually getting. Those are all things, if you're out there searching for online coaching or an online virtual coach, those are things that you should be aware of. So here's the plug. And that is, look, if you are not sure, maybe we're the right fit, maybe we're not the right fit for you. If you just need a little direction, do I need more of like that online product that just gives me the template and a little bit of backend information? I just need a roadmap and that's the best way for me? Or do I need some very specific customization to help fulfill the needs and wants that I have within my lifestyle, my goals, match up to my health and fitness history, like my limitations that I have around equipment or geography or anything like that? Let's talk about it. You can easily do that. If you go to rdftrainonline.com, all you have to do is hit the virtual coaching tab. When you go there, you can set up a consult. You're going to get one of us on that consult, and we can talk to you about it for 15 or 20 minutes and just kind of give you an overview, listen to what you have to say, give you a little bit of an overview, and then direct you. Like I said, maybe we're not the right fit, but we have tons of options. And one of those is virtual coaching, and it's what we do here all the time. We've been doing it for years. We'll continue to do it because of all the reasons we just said. So it might be the right option for you, but we can't help you if you don't call. So give us a call. Again, that's rdftrainonline.com, rdftrainonline.com.